Hi, and welcome to this session. We are the Logston family, also known as the Field Trip Gypsies. I'm Ashley.
I'm Nathan.
I'm Clara. I'm Ellie.
And I'm Juliet.
And we have been on the road since October of 2016. And in the first 2 years, we had the pleasure of traveling to all of the lower 48 states. And we traveled very fast. And we saw a lot. And then we started to slow our pace. And now we have added in what we are talking about in today's subject for this session, and that is volunteering. And we have had the pleasure of volunteering with the Florida State Parks this year and want to share a bit about our experience. So we have gotten a few questions to prep for this. We want to answer these questions and leave opportunities for some questions at the end as well. So the first and foremost question is, why did we choose to do this, especially with our travels? Why did we decide to switch to doing volunteering and camp hosting? So Nathan, you want to take the lead with that one?
Love to. There were a few things that we were really attracted to about the volunteering aspect. One of them was having access to the state park for such a long period of time. I think a lot of times we would go to these state parks and we would love to visit them, but we wouldn't have enough time in the water, or we wanted to have a little more extra time, or couldn't get a campground. So this really afforded us that ability to stay there for a little bit longer. The other thing I really enjoyed about it was we always found ourselves picking up and cleaning up anyway. So we just got to push that forward and got an opportunity to stay there at the park and do what we loved anyway. And so getting a chance to get to know the park a little bit more and do that kind of work, especially with the kids and the family, was a lot of fun. Because you don't always have that opportunity to all go down the beach together and pick up trash every other day when you want to do your volunteering. So those were some of the things that we found to be really, really attractive. But at first we were a little hesitant because we had moved so fast and we had been kind of staying 2 or 3 days, maybe 5 days tops, and then moving on. So the idea of staying for a month kind of had us a little concerned that we would get a little cabin fever. But there was so much to do.
At that point, we hadn't spent more than 2 weeks anywhere.
Yeah, we hadn't really
Right.
sat still. And so, we were a little worried about cabin fever, but, I found that it really flew by pretty fast.
Well, I think that it was very cool to have it kind of as we talk about in our travels and in full-time travels how your backyard changes all the time. And this was the opportunity for us to have a gorgeous backyard of a state park for a long stretch. And that, I think that was something that was really powerful to me, that it just became kind of our home turf. I mean, this was our park. We took care of it as it was our yard. We took care of it. We came up with new ideas, new things to do to contribute to the park, because we really kind of took ownership for what our roles were in it. And so I think that's a great aspect of the volunteering, is just being able to, feel like you are a part of a community and a team and a group that's focused on caring for a campground or an area that you already love.
And it's not just that. I mean, some of the random opportunities that come up just from being on the premises are really educational.
Lots of bird rescues. We rescued 4 birds when we were there.
Well, speak to that, because this is also a big aspect of volunteering, has been prompted by all of our family loving animals so much, but especially you having a passion for that. So you started looking into, well, I guess you've liked all kinds of animals, but your research and learning about animals is kind of what prompted us to get into this to begin with as well, learning about the different ones. I'm going to share a little bit about that and how we got started with this. And the reason we want to bring this up is the next question was, what's the application process like? Well, there's 2 aspects to the application process. And I'm going to tell you the quick version, but then I want Clara and Nathan can elaborate a little bit more as to how it went from there. The quick version is, if you want to volunteer at any state park, Google the state park, or Google volunteer application for Florida State Parks, or for Colorado State Parks, or for whatever state park you want to do. Google and get that volunteer application and fill it out. first and foremost, do the paperwork. Make sure the protocol is done. It doesn't lock you into anything, so it's not a scary thing. There was a point where we kind of hesitated filling out the paperwork for volunteering because we didn't want to be asked to go somewhere that we couldn't and feel pressure about it or anything else. And it's really not that big of a deal. And getting your name in there just covers that red tape of making sure that they have all of your information, and you can go ahead and select what parks you want to volunteer at, what your skills and abilities are. That some may get you into a park because you have a special asset like being an electrician or a plumber or being bilingual, something like that that may help and be an extra advantage as well. So getting all of that information in and filling out the online application is really important, and it's going to be required if you are going to be volunteering at a state park.
Yeah, it just makes it a lot easier for them to find you once you start to have those conversations. But I think the next place you were going was, the best way to jump in is to start acting like you're already volunteering and contributing to the park in that way. And we had a chance to do that at Curry Hammock. You want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so in 2 nights we went out there and caught 16 little iguanas. I was just out walking at night and I found all of these little green lizards all over the place. And so we started catching them.
Because that's a big fascination for you with reptiles in general.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And we learned that they were really bad invasive species. And so we finally decided that it was best to take them to the ranger station.
Not only that, we did the math on how much, because we had, I think...
It's like 16 or 18.
2 males.
Yeah, out of all that we caught, only 2 were male. And so we took them to the ranger station, dropped them off there. I did not tell the ranger that we had this volume of iguanas. We just kind of dropped it off and said, hey, here you go. Surprise, surprise. Well, apparently that kind of got our name around. We went to another state park. We met another gentleman that was helping the state park with their iguana management. And we just started talking to him a little bit about volunteering, and got a chance to meet all of our family, and then we got the chance to meet the volunteer coordinator. And so one thing led to another, which led to another, and we had these opportunities that came up that we could jump into. And so I think that was the beautiful thing was, sometimes when you get into the volunteer piece, you're trying to figure out, okay, I really want to be here in Yellowstone, or I really want to be here in the Tetons, and we, but it's just kind of stuck out in an application. But getting your feet into the earth there, getting to know the people and what they're doing there, really helps to increase your chances of getting visible and have an opportunity just to see if it's a really good fit for you, because you might realize once you get into that space, it may not be what you really want.
Yes, we highly, highly, highly recommend, if you want to volunteer or camp host at a place, go and visit as a camper. Be a camper and get to know the people that work there. Build relationships. Go there and already act as if you are a volunteer. Be a good steward of the campground. Don't be looking behind your back to see if you're going to get caught. You are reflecting and representing the park or the campground that you're at. So make sure you're already starting by being the representative that you would be if you were to be working there. And then in addition, like Nathan said, it's those connections and those relationships. What happened is, just because of our passion for animals, it took us down this unschooling journey of us learning about iguanas. And even though we are major animal lovers, we recognized that this was a very big issue down here in Florida. And we wanted to figure out a solution. And we definitely learned, we struggled with it. We had our own times of tears of figuring out, how we can navigate doing this, but we recognize that our goal is to be good stewards of our earth, and sometimes that means cleaning up the messes we make. So in this situation, we found a resource in the wild bird sanctuary as being a great place to have birds that love to eat iguanas, and so helping with the natural food cycle there and working with the rangers. So we took our unique skill set of already being able to catch these iguanas, and we took that and we went ahead and we saw a need, and we just offered some support. And in doing that, we made friends with people that were there. And that one volunteer was one of the volunteers that was a reason why we got the job. Yes, you have to fill out all of the paperwork. Protocol is still important. But that being said, the power of connections is really, really, really valuable. And so this volunteer who's been down there working has volunteered for over 11,000 hours of volunteer work. They've invested a lot. They've earned the right to say, hey, these are some great people to have in your mix here. And so those were some of those reasons why we got in there. Get to know the people and be a support and be a help. And believe me, when people see that there are people willing to help that are right there and present, they are very likely to say, hey, I'll take you up on that volunteering offer. Can you start today?
And we have found that the state, at least Florida state parks, are very accommodating for you to have your own slant of desire. So if you enjoy picking up trash, you enjoy clearing trails, or you enjoy doing mechanical work, or you enjoy cleaning up campgrounds, they're really good at trying to help you fit into a position that works well. I can't speak for all state parks, but I do know that Florida state parks is that way.
Okay, so that goes into those different roles and jobs that we do. So we'll go into that next.
Well, when we first jumped into it, we really didn't know what to expect. They kind of say, well, yeah, we've got an idea of where we're going to put you, but just show up and on this date. And so we did, and learned about our roles, and we had the opportunity to work in two different areas. One was in the day use area for this park, and the other was in their campground.
Oh, and let's pause real quick on that. So each place that you volunteer is going to be different. There's not a standard protocol for everywhere. And so even in the state parks, there will be different requirements. We volunteered at 2 state parks, and one of the state parks required 3 days on, 3 days off. And we would rotate through 3 days on, 3 days off, and 20 hours of work was required per campsite per week. The other campground that we did, it required 3 days on, 4 days off, but it was 24 hours per campground required per week. And they were 2 very, very different parks. So the requirements for what's involved are very different, but also that's the other reason why we encourage you to get to know these parks, because the feel, the energy, the vibe, who's working there, how things are run can vary greatly. And it can vary greatly not only park to park, but month to month, depending on who's volunteering and what the volunteer group looks like. So really get to know these areas and determine, is it going to be a good fit? Because recognize it's not just about the campground, but it's about the people that you're going to be interacting with on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
So going back to that one.
Well, yeah, I was going to say the other thing is sometimes you have to kind of pay your dues to start out. So, we started and we worked in the summertime where it was very hot. And because of that, we had an opportunity to do something closer into the late summer, early fall. But we found out that each one of our kids kind of enjoyed a different aspect of the jobs that we had. And so we kind of enjoyed letting them flex those muscles. And so we had in Zone 1, which is the day use area, Ellie really enjoyed that. To start out, usually every morning, we would go in and we would open up the bathrooms. We would go have our little team meeting. And then one of the things we would do is check what? Do you remember?
The weather.
Why don't you tell them about the weather?
Okay, yes. Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. So one of the things that we did was we would check the weather all the time. We would go every morning up to what kind of looked like a little lighthouse, and inside of it was a box that had what was it called?
A little NOAA weather radio. So when we were at Bahia Honda State Park, NOAA weather radio gets their temperature from there. So it was a really cool thing that we got to do. That was part of Zone 1 responsibilities, was to check the weather and
the water, the rain, the amount of rain that had happened that night. Rainfall, yes. And it rained a lot.
Right. So we would check the weather in Zone 1. What else would we do in Zone 1? Oh.
We would pick up trash on the beach and a lot of talking to people as well, and helping people find wherever things are, and teaching them about the park and how sargassum is good for the beach.
One of the things that we found is that there was a lot of seaweed that would come up on the beach, and people are expecting nice white sandy beaches, and they would ask questions. Why is this on the on the beach. And so we found that it gave us an opportunity to learn a lot about the area because you're getting asked so many questions. And it gave you an opportunity to chat and help people understand how to use the park best. You know, some people come to those parks for different reasons. Some are coming there for birthday parties, some are coming there for birding, some are coming there for swimming. And so it's kind of helping everybody kind of commingle in those worlds where, you know, one might want to be quiet and see butterflies and somebody else wants to play the radio. And so it kind of gives you that opportunity to get into humanity and interact with it and have a good time. And you know, we found that a smiling face really got you pretty far in that interaction. My girls used to make fun of me because I would say what?
My man.
My man.
All the time to everybody. His keys talk.
Yeah. But it was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed Zone 1 working with you guys on that.
Yeah, roving interpretation is kind of the biggie, and so a lot of times they encourage, especially if you're passionate about a certain area of the park, to be a roving interpreter and to share information about it. So, you know, we ended up being very excited about sea beans, and so we collected lots of sea beans, and we could walk around and we could talk about how you can carve the sea beans and make little creatures out of them, or what the sea hearts are and the big things that you can find and where they've come from all over. Looking at things like cool pieces of sea glass and fun pieces of sea beans that have come from all over the world. And we ended up being really excited about that, so we would share that in Zone 1 and talk about the sea beans and help people see what they could explore on the beach, and help them to see other ways to enjoy the park beyond what they might have come there for.
Right. The other thing that we did, we would rotate these zones. So for 3 days we would do this one zone, and Zone 1, and we would be in the day use area, and then our next week we would be in Zone 2, and that was in the campground. Claire really enjoyed doing that.
Yeah, Zone 2 was cleaning up the campsites, and you had the list of campsites that you had to do, and then you go in and you rake out and weed some of the sites.
What do we call it when we do? What do you call when we do campsites?
What? Mucking stalls.
Mucking stalls is what we call it. Yep.
Yeah.
And yeah, you really like doing that.
Yep.
My favorite part was cleaning out the bathrooms. I really, really enjoyed that. All the kids seemed to disappear for those periods.
Yeah, a biggie part of volunteering that's probably one that's the hardest, grossest parts that people complain about, or that people struggle or aren't sure if they want to do, is there is a lot of just janitorial work. So it is maintenance. It is making sure the park looks nice, and a number one focus for that's going to be bathrooms and trash cans. So if bathrooms and trash cans are completely not in your deal, then maybe you're looking for a more specialist position for volunteering and not straight camp hosting or general volunteering, because those ones definitely require that, and the larger the park, the more bathrooms and trash you are dealing with. So we didn't mind it too much because, again, we like to work hard and we like to play hard, and we've created a system and a routine that would work. That is something to kind of address here, because we had these two different zones and we were off and on. We weren't all on and all off at the same time. One, because of the fact that we were dealing with being in the summer in the Keys, and we had very intense heat that we were dealing with, and we needed to take breaks. Yeah.
It was like bath water.
Yeah, even the ocean water was like bath water. It was a whole different experience for us being in the Florida Keys in the heat of June, July, and August. So, so there was that. But then, yes, for the times that we were down there in the heat. But then also, you know, you oftentimes have a golf cart. Well, a golf cart is probably not going to hold a family of 5. Our golf cart usually held maybe either 2 adults or 1 adult and 2 children tops, and that was it. So we would rotate people through, and we would also have different areas of focus that were favorites. So yes, Ellie absolutely loved doing the Zone 1 area. Clara really loved doing Zone 2 and doing more of the campground ones, also going more for the people focus versus more of the work and the projects that there were. We also had some opportunities to do some things beyond just the regular volunteer roles and extra opportunities. So what was one thing that we did that you really enjoyed?
Well, I really enjoyed doing the turtle excavations. So you would dig inside the hole of the turtle nest, and
We observed.
yes, we observed. But
Right.
People would dig inside the turtle nest and find the eggs, and even some were still alive down there. And we got to see some that were alive.
We
and we got to
Three
see one.
live babies.
Yeah,
We
3
got to
alive
see-
babies,
Yeah.
and then we sent 2 to the turtle hospital, and then
Well,
Each one took
and
its
with
first
that
breath
too,
underwater.
yeah.
so that's one of very
So we
Highlight.
watched the turtle nest evaluations. We did
Yes.
turtle walks, and then we actually then were able to take some of the sea turtles with certified people, because there is a lot of protocol around who's allowed to touch a sea turtle and who's allowed to do certain things. We learned a lot about so many animals and conserving and taking care, being good stewards of them and their environment. So yeah, we took them to the animal hospital.
to the turtle hospital to make sure that they're good and healthy.
Right. And then we rescued plenty of birds.
Yes, we rescued birds and putting them into the bird sanctuary at
Mm-hmm.
Green Point,
Uh-huh.
and doing that stuff. There's a lot of highlighted things, but those were 2 that I really enjoyed.
We also were able to participate in a big National Public Lands Day that was a big park cleanup. And we did a lot of times on our downtimes, we would end up picking litter, going up and doing just beach litter and collecting trash on the beach. And I honestly decided that in our sea bean fascination with collecting all of these sea beans, I would go out and we would walk and we would look for sea beans and we wouldn't find any. And whenever we would go picking up litter and go cleaning up the beaches, I would find a ton. So I kind of say when we help Mother Earth, she gives us little gifts back. So it was a great opportunity to really get an eye for some really cool beach finds and be a good steward of the park by helping out and cleaning up. So we added a lot of little extra fun things. What about lionfish? We learned a lot about lionfish as well.
Yeah, and we even caught some lionfish.
Uh-huh.
So I spotted one, and then you went down there and was able to catch it. And then I spotted another one, and you didn't want to go down that deep.
No, I said I can't go that far. So this one swam down pretty far.
Yeah, and it was surprisingly easy. You just take this little net, and you have your very protected gloves, and just scoop it up.
But in our fascination with it, again, we learned all about it. So what did that do? That opened the door for other things. So we ended up being the 3 girls helped a park ranger with a presentation with the program on lionfish and educating people on lionfish, and they were able to walk around with a lionfish and let people see the lionfish, and they were holding gloves and actually had the lionfish. So they had some experiences like that.
Yeah, you just have these
Yeah.
constant opportunities that come up that even when you're on your day off or you're hanging around the park, enjoying the park, in your own leisure time, there's just so much to do. And so we found it to be a terrific blend for a family because it did offer the opportunity to teach some work ethic, to show what hard work is, and the opportunity to show a lot of educational opportunities because they were just speckled in around us. The other thing that we enjoyed about this park was the geocaching. They had some great geocaching that were speckled around. And I would encourage anybody who has not done geocaching, if you're volunteering, talk to people about it and explain what it is and do some of it yourself.
It's a great way.
Yes, there are 4 caches around the park.
Yeah, that's
really
the second
awesome.
part. Uh-huh. And it is, and it's a great way to show a park. And a lot of times, the geocaching that's done in the parks, the rangers are very strategic on where they've put them because it's to get the best advantage of the park or to see the most of the park. So they're put in locations where you really do get to visit and explore areas of the park. So yeah, in our enjoyment with these different things, though, it did add more opportunities. So beyond doing the regular volunteering, we did things like doing the interpretations, working with the turtles, working with the different animals, and creating posters. Everything we learned about, we created posters for. So let's see, Ellie, you did one on geocaching.
Yep.
And you did pigeons and cats and how cats are invasive.
And then I did some on microplastics and
plastic and plastic bottles, and I think I also did one on plastic bags.
Right.
And
So
then, yeah, with the
then you did sea beans, I think.
I did sea beans and birds.
Sea beans and birds. That's right. We worked on the birds of Florida. So another opportunity, and that is an opportunity that all of you have, even if you are not actually there. Recognize that volunteer opportunities aren't just physically present either. There are plenty of opportunities for doing volunteer work that could be done remotely, like making posters and signage for different parks, helping with that, helping with any of the admin, the technical aspects of it, helping with marketing or anything like that is concerned. So you can definitely look beyond even being physically present at some of these places if you really just want to support a park. Now, as far as the perks are concerned for being at these parks, the number one perk for volunteering is the fact that you stay for free. How else can you stay for 4 months in the Florida Keys for free? I mean, it's a great opportunity to get free lodging there. As far as perks beyond having a free place to stay, a lot of it, I believe, has a lot to do with your work ethic and how much you put into it. You tend to get a lot out for as much as you put in. And so I think a lot of our opportunities that we had that I view as major perks, as these opportunities that we've had as a family to be involved and to dig in and to learn so much more and get these new fun experiences, has been due to our commitment and our willingness to do some of the hard stuff, some of the not so fun stuff. Cleaning toilets, coming in really hot weather, emptying trash cans, and showing up and having a good and positive attitude, not complaining about everything, and looking for how we can be a positive impact and add more support to an organization has really helped to open the door to even more perks than for us to come in expecting all of the perks to begin with. So if you go in with that anticipation of really being a great steward, loving this place as your own, and being an extra extension of having that opportunity to stay in an area, have a lot of fun, and share that with others, then volunteering is a great opportunity to look for your family.
One side perk is you also meet some wonderful people in the volunteering and that are other volunteers or that are coordinators or are there working in the park. We met and had an opportunity to hang out with some really fascinating folks that we never really would have met or had that normal opportunity to really engage in to that level of depth. So I encourage you also, if you are volunteering, get to know the staff, get to know the other volunteers, look for opportunities to hang out because it really opens that door of getting to know all the other beautiful souls around you. I would just encourage everybody to really think about where they want to be. You know, we kind of looked at this as a commitment. So once we committed to it, we weren't backing out. We were going to do that period of time. And so really trying to imagine and think through, do we want to be here? Could I live here for this period of time? Is there enough for me to have what I need accessible? Sometimes places are remote. The Keys, that like we were saying where we were staying, they only had certain things that you could get. So it's important to keep that in mind when you're making your decision. But I think if you're staying somewhere that you really love and enjoy, it just makes the whole experience a really sweet and educational and amazing one.
There are ways to volunteer whether you are staying for 4 months at a place or longer, or whether you are not even staying there and maybe you are dabbling in the idea of doing this and aren't even fully full-time yet, and you do it and just volunteer in a certain area. Right now we are at our house in Florida in between our travels, and there is a park that's right down the road. Because we're already established as Florida State Park volunteers, we have the pleasure of being able to go over there and volunteer and give our time and our services, even if it's just for an afternoon. So recognize there are opportunities out there for volunteering, and maybe you're not ready to embark on something big. Give a day of support, add that somewhere, and see how much that's mutually beneficial and how much that helps in so many different ways.
Well, thank you all for having us on here. I love the opportunity to share. I encourage you all to get out there and explore this world with your family. And don't be afraid to volunteer and give of your time to some wonderful state parks in your area.
Yes.
Namaste.
Namaste.
All right, namaste. Now that you've gotten the interview with the whole family, I want to share a little bit of a fun slideshow of just some of our experiences in volunteering and some of the things that we did down in the Florida Keys. Now, if you are curious about volunteering and getting more involved with this, you are welcome to reach out and let us know. My website and my company is Mama Says Namaste. And what I love to do is work with families to help them create the life that all of them thrive in, where the uniqueness in each of us strengthens all of us. And so in doing that, I have a lot of different resources for families. And some of the things that in the traveling community that they have taken advantage of is the 90-day family road trip, where I help families who are considering getting on the road, and our Namaste snapshots, which help people to really dig into who they are and get a better picture of who this person is deeper than the surface. So if you are interested in more resources, learning more about how you can do things like volunteering or just living life intentionally with your family, check out Mama Says Namaste and see what resources we have there. And if you're a podcast listener, be sure to check out the Mama Says Namaste podcast wherever you listen to podcasts.
1, 2, 3. Up with the rising sun, already on the run. Mama says namaste. Life is a tangled mess, and you don't have to stress. Mama says namaste. 'Cause today I will stand up and be all the change that I want to see in this world. Boys and girls, you gotta have to stand up to be free. Namaste in your heart. Take a deep breath in and let's start a brand new day. With Mama Says Namaste.
As you can see, this was such a great opportunity for our family to be involved in creating Ollie the Octopus at Curry Hammock State Park. Now, after Curry Hammock, we moved on to Bahia Honda.
What do I do?
All right, Juliet, what are we doing today?
Weather.
We're checking the weather. So what we have to do is we have to come in here and we do the report for NOAA Weather Radio. We record the time and then we recall. So it's 83 degrees and the high and the low were 90 and 79.9. And then we'll clear it and we'll get our weather for the day. Okay, after getting the big weather radio.
You write it down on this paper.
Uh-huh.
So we have the visual speed.
We do our temperature at observation, our max temp, minimum temp, and now we need to go get our rainfall.
So let's show you how to do that. First, you want to lift up this so you know how much rain there was. Now there was. You take your measuring stick and you set it in there. Now, what is that? That is
That's right.
what?
And that's how we measure to say what the rainfall was. And we report all of this.
And then
We
you
rep-
put it back, you just slide it back in there
Yep.
so it fits. Give me my handle.
And we report all of this
We report all this and we
to NOAA Weather Radio. your travels, no matter where they take you, and remember there are always these beautiful opportunities to be good stewards of this wonderful world we live in, and celebrate how the uniqueness in each of us strengthens all of us. Namaste.